Welcome to the Nick Halaris Show. This is the place where we explore big ideas with people having a big impact on our world. I'm your host, Nick Halaris, serial entrepreneur, author, early morning riser, and seeker of truth and wisdom. Join me as we explore the journeys and discoveries of fascinating people who are literally unlocking the secrets to creating a life of both success and fulfillment. Each episode will arm you with insights, ideas, and practical perspectives on what it takes not only to be financially and personally successful, but also how to start having authentic impact on the world around you. Hello, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. I thought I would do something different today. I invited a very close friend of mine, Njoku, to come on to the show and kind of flip the tables and interview me instead of the other way around. What follows is a sort of ask me anything format conversation between John and I that I hope you will find as fun and engaging as we did. A lot of this podcast is an experimentation at this phase, and John and I had so much fun doing this that I think this is probably going to be a regular feature. So hope you enjoy. Well, welcome to the Nick Halaris Show.
We're here, man.
We're here. Thanks for coming. We're doing something different today.
Any freaking time for you, bro.
Yeah. I wanted to do something different because I'm going to be interviewing a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I thought it'd be fun to bring on my friend John Njoku to turn the tables and ask me a bunch of questions in a sort of ask me anything format. So let's get into it.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun, and thanks for having me on. And
yeah.
I'm happy to kind of push the envelope and see where we end up here and take this open format. But I just think it would be really cool, Nick, for you to share, and I'm sure you're going to do this a number of times, but we're here. We're podcasting and we're talking and we talk all the time. But why are you doing this, man? Like, why are we here? What are you seeking to share with the world?
Yeah, man, that's a good question. It's going to take a long time to answer, but I'll try.
Yeah, give it a whirl. Let's see what we got.
But full disclosure for anyone who actually listens to this, John and I met like 20-something years ago.
It's been a minute.
and have one of the most immature adult relationships that I have in my life. But we talk very regularly.
Ditto.
Yeah. Yep. And we talk about absolute nonsense.
Mostly nonsense.
Yeah.
Lots of laughter and maybe there's some strange voices and it gets a little weird.
Yeah.
But
cultural commentary
yep.
and
yep.
current events. But
yes.
So let me try to answer the question in a succinct fashion.
Yeah.
So this kind of goes back like a long way.
Right.
I basically have been engaged in creative work for like 20-something years, ever since I finished school.
Okay.
And I was basically writing to myself.
Right.
So I have several book projects that are unfinished. I have hundreds of pages of written work that I've never shared with the world.
Right.
And when the COVID crisis came around, just kind of by happenstance, I got invited by some friends of mine to appear on a couple podcasts on this finance TV show called Real Vision.
Right.
And the audience feedback was great. Like it went so well, they asked me back, and a bunch of people that I was working with at Real Vision encouraged me. They're like, "Oh, you should start, doing your own stuff.
Right.
Write a newsletter." So the first thing I attempted to do was to start the newsletter, which I've been doing now for almost 3 years.
It's awesome, by the way, actually.
Thank
I give you this candid feedback a lot. And it's actually been really cool for me to see the journey and the evolution of it and how it's gotten tighter and how you start to play with some things and stuff like that. So I think it's a really good thing that everyone listening should check out for sure.
Yeah, appreciate that. Hey guys, this is Nick. I wanted to take a quick break from the episode to share some exciting news. In addition to the podcast, I want to make you aware of some additional content we're putting out. And best of all, it's 100% free. Our Profit Plus newsletter consists of weekly insights about what it takes to find meaning in the pursuit of modern success. This is the place where we explore big ideas at the intersection of markets, business, politics, and life, as we seek to empower our readers to have an authentic impact on the world. If you're serious about finding fulfillment amid success, then definitely check out these additional insights. Just go to subscribe.nickhalaris.com. Again, that's subscribe.nickhalaris.com. Now let's get back to the episode. And that literally, I went back through. I have this sort of folder with all my writing. I have like almost 200 articles that I wrote from 2004 until 2020.
Wow.
That were never published.
Yeah.
I wrote all these commentaries on the world, political issues, finance stuff that I'm writing about now that I'm actually publishing.
Right.
But I wrote all this basically for myself for a very long time.
Let me stop you there and
sure.
ask you, like, okay, '04, you let's see, you were like early on in law school, right? Or midway through, whatever we want to say. Why were you writing then? Like, I think that at that time, so young and absorbing life, but what were you trying to get at when you were writing then?
Yeah, I honestly don't know. Like, I had started my senior year of high school. I started like keeping a journal. I had taken this writing class at a local community college, and the teacher was like, "Oh, you should start writing in a journal."
Yeah,
and that turned into a broader practice where not only was I journaling, but I was also just writing these articles.
Yeah, where was high school for you? I think this is really important.
Yeah, high school, Chippewa Valley.
Chippewa Valley.
Yeah.
Yes,
in a suburb of Detroit area, actually.
A suburb.
Yeah.
So 8 Mile.
I grew up, yeah, not quite. Although Eminem's daughter subsequently went to my high school.
Haley?
Yeah.
Did she really?
And I'm pretty sure she won Homecoming Queen of Chippewa Valley. So I'm connected to Eminem.
They lived in that area?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They actually, last I heard, they lived next to my very first investor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a gated community in my neighborhood. There's like one gated community, and they happen to live in that one. Yeah.
All right. Hold on. I want to bring it back to you started to write in 2004. But what was high school like? Because you mentioned that you took a class at a community college, which I think is really interesting and unique. But what was that like? Like, how did you end up there?
At the community college.
Yeah.
My high school was okay, but it wasn't really set up for somebody like me who was like super good at school and
got it,
willing to work hard and study.
Sure.
So we only had like
that's a really diplomatic way of saying it.
Let's be honest. We had 2 AP classes, right? And like
in the whole high school.
In the whole high school.
Oh wow.
And so I did those, and I had a phenomenal teacher. Like the best teacher I've ever had in my life is still this history teacher named Kim Voss.
Okay.
I call her Mrs. Voss still because she was my teacher.
Yeah.
But she was the best teacher at the school by far, and had a huge impact on me and encouraged me to get out of there and go do some other stuff.
Got it.
To challenge myself, essentially.
Community college was one of those things.
Yeah, because my senior year of high school, I literally went to school for 2 or 3 hours, and then I left because there was nothing left for me to do there. Yeah, I went to the community college and took classes there, which was kind of cool. Yeah.
So fast forward to 04, you're like, we're Neanderthaling and doing all sorts of brotastic things outside of law school, but then you find the time to like write as a way to fill in the blank.
Yeah, like a lot of my writing was like sort of probably self-therapy in a sense, just trying to understand myself and understand the things that were happening in my life.
Yeah.
And then there was this other genre of writing that was like more practically oriented, like trying to make sense of I've always been fascinated by investing, so I would write essentially like investment newsletter type articles back then to myself,
to yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And I would share them with a few people, but not really widely distributed.
Where did this interest in investing kick off? Okay, so we're in Macomb, Michigan, we're Chippewa Valley. Like, where did you see yourself fitting into that? Like, how were you personally connected to that world, and why was it interesting at all?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to why it was interesting, but it definitely was. Like, probably when I was like 13 or 14, I got super interested.
Yeah.
And then when I started to get like internship jobs in college, I realized that I didn't want to have a job.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
In college,
I was like, gosh, this is terrible. Because like, in Michigan, like Michigan's car culture, and you live somewhere and then you drive a far place.
Right.
So like by the time you drive to work,
8 mile, 18 mile.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. By the time you drive to work and come back, it's like your whole day's gone.
Right.
And you're just like, that routine I found to be like psychologically very challenging.
Interesting. Yeah.
And so I thought of investing. I was like, gosh, what would be more fun than that? Oh, well, investing sounds more fun than that. And then I happened to be interested in it, and I was good at math, and so it made sense.
How did you feel like you could opt out of like that world, right? Because I feel like so much of our society right now, okay, people literally judge you on whether you're unemployed or not, right? Or what kind of job you have. Our vacation model, the tourism model in this country is built off of like holiday. But holiday from what? It's from work, right?
Yeah.
How did you feel that you could, at that age, like it was possible to opt out of that? I think it's really fascinating.
Yeah. I'm trying to think how to answer that. It's a lot of this stuff I don't know, but like
Yeah.
I had this impulse. I was like, that is not right.
Right.
Whatever was happening on my commute to and from work, I was like, that is not going to work for me.
This isn't it. Because you could have gone to the NBA, right? Like,
Yeah.
There's like pro sports or whatever, like those kinds, or become an actor.
Yeah.
And clearly I'm asking because I think it's fascinating. Growing up, for me, very, authoritarian, Nigerian parents. Like,
Yeah.
you're going to go and do these things. And you didn't really have time to sit and think like, I'm going to opt out and not do those things.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to go, and that's an interesting thing about being here in LA. That's a very creative, like it's in the bones of this town that creativity is part of what to do here, right?
Yep.
And so I just think it's fascinating that at a young age you were able to see that as like, and investing as a lane to that. So that's really interesting to me.
Yeah. And I realized too, like, because I had been reading all this finance type material,
Mm-hmm.
it clicked in my head.
Yeah.
Like there's this famous line, I think it's in Das Kapital, which is Karl Marx.
Yeah.
And he says something along
Did you read that at the community college? Or?
No, I think I was in regular college when I read this.
Right on.
But he's talking about, it's in the introduction, I think. It's like really right at the beginning. He said the problem of capitalism is
I think
capital.
that was as far as I got with it, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's hard to read Marx, but he's actually a clear writer, but it's long.
Right.
So you gotta commit. Which is hard for some people. I know. But he said the problem of capitalism is capital.
Mm-hmm.
And his point was that there's two situations available to you in capitalism.
Okay.
With capital and one without.
Yep.
And if you look at the world, if you step back and you look at the world, like you really do want to be the person with capital.
Right.
It makes a huge difference. It makes a difference in the quality of your life.
And that means that you bought into it straight away, because not everyone buys into that model, right? And that's not the only model to buy into, but that does mean that you were like, this is the most advantageous for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep. Let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsor. This episode of the Nick Halaris Show is brought to you by Metros Capital. If you're an investor looking for direct access to real estate investments, then we'd love to talk with you. Investment opportunities at Metros Capital balance financial returns and community impact. To learn more, contact us at metros.nickhalaris.com. Again, that's metros.nickhalaris.com. Now let's get back to the episode.
Take us to 2004. You've been writing these things all the way through, and then COVID, you started doing some podcasting, and then, that turned into what, like, sorry, so we rewound. Now we're fast forwarding. Let's get back to.
Let's fast forward.
Yeah,
I agree. Okay, so this whole time, from the end of law school until 2020,
mm-hmm.
I had been engaged in kind of an attempt to live out that original dream. The dream was like, I don't really want to work for anybody. I want to achieve some kind of, the phrase that people use is financial freedom.
For sure.
I was going after that. And I went after it really hard. Like I worked, after law school, I did a short stint as a consultant,
mm-hmm.
and then really started investing as an entrepreneur in 2009. So like most of my career, I've been investing.
Great timing.
Yeah, it was an ideal time. I know. Maybe we're gonna get that again. We'll have to see. Yeah,
that's right.
And fortunately, like rising, a lot of it's luck and timing, but maybe some hard work, maybe some smarts. But fortunately,
maybe some hard work.
It worked out, and so I found myself. When COVID hit, I was like 40 years old. I had 2 kids, and I was in a good position. I'm not in some kind of position where like I don't have to work again in my life, but I was doing fine. I had achieved essentially what I had set out to achieve, which was I got myself into a life system
mm-hmm.
where I didn't work for anybody. I have people that I'm accountable to, like my family and my, I have a business partner.
Your stakeholders, right?
And sometimes we have outside investors.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't the 9 to 5 thing that was what I was trying to get out of. And I had gotten out of it, and that had given me the space
Yeah.
to do other things.
Sure.
And I had been busy doing other things, raising my kids
That's right.
and getting involved in the community, getting involved in sort of civic activist type stuff.
Yeah.
And all the while writing.
Right.
Writing. And so when I finally started to actually put it out there, it was pretty easy. Because I had a ton of content, and two, I had a ton of practice because I had been doing it. Yeah.
I think it's 10,000 hour rule, right? And I think that holds true for so many different disciplines, but writing is definitely one of those things. And it's interesting to say that you found it easy to just put stuff out. And so that leads to the audio format that we're doing now.
Yep.
And how do you see this as a complement or additive to the writing?
Yeah, I think my journey into sort of creator type
There you go.
person.
So LA of you.
Whatever that means, yeah. Started with the writing, and actually it started with these appearances on Real Vision.
Right.
And then it turned into writing. And what I realized is I collected a bunch of subscribers to this newsletter from all over the place.
Yeah.
All over the world, actually, which has kind of been humbling.
Like, what's give me a couple far out places.
Like, I have a bunch of subscribers from Poland.
Really?
Ukraine.
Yeah.
The UK, Australia.
Yep.
Some in Asia.
Nice.
Yeah, so just random. People.
That's so cool.
And where these people found me was on podcasts.
Ah, okay. All right.
So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Basically, every time I appeared on a podcast, someone else's, whether it was Real Vision or Blockworks or something like that,
right,
I would get a bunch of subscribers. So I was like, okay, well, this is obviously a good channel for me to get my messaging out into the world.
Right.
And I enjoy it.
Yeah.
So it was natural for me to try to take the next step. And I also feel like I have something to say.
Yeah.
Part of this writing and
got stuff to spit.
Yeah, exactly. It took me a long time to accept that what I've been writing to myself was worthy of sharing.
That's real. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so same is true with this format. It's it took me a while to just be willing to believe in that.
So when you put stuff out in the written form, do you feel like you can just say whatever is on your mind? Like, what's your filter? Because I think it gets it can get a little, some ideas are controversial.
Yeah.
And maybe you got to weigh that. You got to weigh sharing that versus, the value, the release or whatever you get from sharing it. How do you think about some of these ideas that might be on the controversial side, whether they're novel and just haven't, it's early on, it's like a financial prediction, or whether it's like a social thing that, maybe in the long run is, the most utilitarian thing, but maybe it might be not ready to be consumed by a lot of people.
Yeah. It's a good question. I actually haven't really even thought about that.
Yeah.
I just write what I want to write.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, and I think that's kind of what I was getting at. So you don't even, you're like, I'm just spitting. It's that's cool. I think that's powerful.
Yeah, and I think I'm in a fortunate position too, because of how I came to this. Like, this project for me is not, it doesn't have to pay the bills.
Right.
And so I'm in a lucky spot. That's not true of
that's
all
cool.
elite creators and stuff. So, and I've seen this phenomenon, actually. I was thinking about this yesterday because I follow a ton of sort of finance gurus on Twitter and stuff like that. That's how I got really into this whole process. And I've noticed a really interesting trend, which is that these are really smart people, thoughtful people.
You mean who are we talking about?
Well, I don't want to name names because I'm about to show the dark side of this this process.
All right.
Yeah. And I don't want to call anybody out because some of these people honestly were mentors of mine in the creative game.
Okay.
And so I don't want to
Understood.
I don't want to say anything about it. But here's what happens. So you take somebody who's sort of a non-famous person, non-famous on the internet.
Yeah.
They're not famous anywhere.
Yeah.
They're incredibly smart, incredibly financially successful.
Okay.
They're good writers, good speakers. They start putting stuff out there.
Yeah.
They put a newsletter out there. They start engaging in Twitter.
Yep.
Then they build a following, and then something that they do or write goes viral.
Okay. Yep.
And I've noticed this trend, which is kind of like, it's a little scary because it shows you the power of this stuff. The trend is like whatever they went viral on becomes the thing that they talk about.
And that's it.
That's it. And so they came
that's
in,
interesting.
they
Yeah,
came
yeah.
into the creative field with like a much broader mind
Yeah.
and a much broader set of ideas. They go viral on
I'm dying for an example,
on
but I
cr-
understand
on
that
crypto
you can't do that. Yeah.
or the new technology
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And then that's it. That's
Right.
all they talk about. And so and it's like this like Lady Gaga says, it's the fame monster.
Okay.
And what it is like you got to feed. You feel like you have to feed this
Feed the
beast
Gotta feed the beast.
of anonymous people who are following you, who found you this certain way.
Right.
And it's really powerful
Yeah.
because these people are, high functioning people.
For sure.
And they get caught up into it. And so it's kind of scary to think about that. I don't want to end up in the same vein. I want to be able to keep writing what I want to write.
Yeah. No, I think that's important to keep that authenticity as opposed to, last night I got back from ETH Denver, but we're going to talk about crypto in a second, or Web3 or whatever we're calling it these days. And on the ride back from the airport with my wife, we were listening to some NPR thing, and I was vaguely listening to it, but it was Rick Rubin. And, he was talking about kind of the connection with the audience and how your art should be inherently almost disconnected from the audience, because if it's too connected, you're almost like pandering to them and, therefore, losing some element of authenticity or what makes it good. I got to find that. And I'm probably not giving it the credit or articulating what it was saying properly, but I do think that it's very similar to what you're discussing about the fame monster, which I think is fascinating.
Yeah.
And I'll hold you to that. Let's see.
Let's make sure it doesn't happen. But I've been listening to a lot of Rick Rubin stuff too, because he's published his new book.
Yes, there you go.
And so I've listened to several podcasts.
Yep.
And I really like what he has to say.
It's cool.
I can see why he's been so successful.
Yeah.
His ideas around the creative process and around how to maintain creative integrity are actually very important.
Yep. Exactly.
And people you need to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And there's other parts of what he's saying that I totally believe in. Like, for example, he talks a lot about like the magic of creativity.
Yep.
And the magic of life. And I listened to something yesterday. I forget. It was like a clip where he was talking about some band he was working with that was missing out on the section of the song. They couldn't find a lyric.
Mm-hmm.
And they were at Rick's house, and he's like, "Go pick a book off the bookshelf."
Okay.
First book he picks, it must have been like the Bible, because the verse ended up being a very religious verse. Huh. But the verse had absolutely nothing to do with the rest of the song. Okay. But it was perfect.
It was perfect for it.
And I really believe in that kind of stuff. Where as I've been writing, not only writing, but I'll give an example from writing, but then also from business.
Sure.
So now that I've been writing, I've had this really strange phenomenon where I will have an idea to write an article, but not really know where to start with it. Okay. I'll write like one or two sentences. Yep. And then I'll go to the gym. Right. And when I'm walking...
The gym or CrossFit?
Well, yeah, CrossFit, yeah. I don't just do regular workouts.
You're not going to the Equinox and...
No, LA Fitness.
Gonna rip an elliptical.
Yeah,
you're going to the box.
Bench press and squats, no. My walk from the gym is like 7 minutes if I'm going slow, if I'm just taking my time. Okay. And I'll write the entire article in my head, as I'm walking home. Yeah. I write the first two sentences, I go work out, and I didn't do any conscious thing during my workout. I was working out. That's right. And then bam, it just comes out. Yeah.
It's similar to the walking meeting. I think was it Steve Jobs? That was all about that. Yeah. And, doing something active like that just stimulates your brain. And then there's something meditative to the pitter patter of the feet, and things just kind of percolate that way as well. I find the creative process so interesting, and different people have different ways of going about it. Rick Rubin, getting back to him, he was getting lampooned a little bit on Twitter. And again, because he's been making the media tour, of course, and he just looks visually, you're trying to connect the way he looks and kind of his, we'll call it like hippie way of being right now to his volume of work. And it's like, it seems like there's a disconnect, and it's just funny. Like if you're not listening to anything that he's saying and you're just looking, you're like, wait, what? That what? Come on.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of funny. And some people had a way with it without actually diving into the substance of what's going on.
Yeah, he presents in an interesting way,
Exactly.
in an unexpected way, because he's got this crazy like yogi beard kind of thing,
Right.
and like he presents like a spiritual guru. Actually,
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
which is fine.
Yeah.
Because creativity is actually highly related to that.
Yeah.
So it makes
Exactly.
sense that he's involved in that. Yeah.
So all right. So you don't work out in the Equinox, or you're not doing bench pressing. You're not going to go for a 5K. How do you work out? I think that's a really interesting element to you as a person, and something that you've been very consistent with alongside, the writing. What do you do?
Yeah. These days, I guess since my first son was born,
Mm-hmm.
I've been going to the same gym
Yep.
6 times a week on a very consistent
Yeah.
schedule.
Very
Like,
consistent. Right.
I basically, before COVID, I had to be really sick to skip.
Mm-hmm.
That was the era when you felt, if you felt kind of bad, you could still go to the
Right.
gym. Now I'm a little more conscious about it.
Good
Like,
for you.
yeah.
What a good guy you are.
But I go all the time, and I happen to live. When it first started, I lived right next door to it, and then I moved across the street, so I'm still relatively close, only 7 minutes away.
Right.
And I go at 6 a.m. So I get up.
What is it?
The gym started off as
Okay, go ahead.
CrossFit gym.
Yeah, can we talk about that? I don't know.
Yeah, well, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it started off as a CrossFit gym,
Uh-huh.
and during the pandemic, the founders of CrossFit like got into some kind of
Oh, I didn't know this.
yeah,
Oh, wow. Okay.
like I think he said something crazy about the George Floyd incident,
Oh, no.
and so
The founder or your...
no, not anyone related to this particular gym.
Got it,
Like
got
the
it, got it.
global corporation,
Okay.
CrossFit Corporation.
Okay.
And it was so bad that like essentially a bunch of gyms like my gym de-affiliated
Oh, is that right?
because it was like,
It was that bad.
and ultimately what ended up happening was it was so bad that the shareholders basically forced this guy to sell out his position.
Okay.
He was so toxic. So
I
CrossFit ended up repairing its brand,
Yeah.
but our gym never re-affiliated.
Okay.
But what we're doing is CrossFit.
Sure.
So we're doing like
Okay, so it's
intense
CrossFit.
CrossFit style workouts.
Is it intense or...
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so talk about... So you guys have this workout of the day, a.k.a. the WOD, or is it the WOD? I call it the WOD.
Well, if it was WOD, there'd be an E at the end. So it's WOD.
Depends on
WOD,
where,
yeah.
where you... your colloquialism with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But, all right, so the WOD... So what was it today, for example?
Today was tough.
Yep.
And right now I'm on the top of the leaderboard.
As of this, speaking right now,
Yeah.
you are on the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah,
All right,
it probably
shut
won't.
down. We
It probably
close
won't
facility.
last, but as of now, because it's early.
What does that mean? So you guys compete with these workouts? What are you talking
Yeah.
about? Come on. I go to the gym and there's no leaderboard there, buddy. Like I go in there, I do my run, my lift, and then I leave.
Yeah.
What do we, so this is competitive.
And yeah, I mean that's why you're not strong. It's pretty simple. You look strong, but you're not strong.
Okay, go ahead. I'll tell
So
my story in a second with the WOD.
The fundamental premise of this type of exercise is like you work out
A
in
cult? No, go ahead.
it does have sort of cult like things, but you work out in a group
Right.
and you compete and you have shared suffering.
Okay.
And the shared suffering creates bonds, and so that's why people think
Oh my
CrossFit's a
God.
cult.
Well, okay, that is a definition of
Yeah.
Reminds me of my fraternity.
Yeah, it's honestly psychologically it's a similar thing. Like
Yeah.
people who do basic training together, for example,
Sure,
it's the
that's
same
right.
concept. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, all right. So today's workout of the day was
So we had to do this 4 rounds of work
okay.
where 2 of the 3 exercises were the same, and then the third one got harder and harder.
Got it.
So it was 20 reverse lunges with 45-pound dumbbells.
Okay. You had to do the 45s.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, what if you wanted to be a hot shot and do 55s? Like,
No,
there's
it's
no
not
credit-
because
extra credit for
you
that.
have to be able to compete. So
okay,
people
okay.
are like changing their weights willy-nilly, then you can't.
right.
There's no benchmark.
Okay.
Okay. And then 30 double unders,
Okay.
which is like when you jump rope and you spin it twice.
What kind of jump rope are you? The weighted? Or you like what?
No,
are we talking about?
to do double unders, you need a real thin one.
Yeah. Okay,
for speed.
got it.
And then the third exercise was like a pull-up one. So in the round one, it was 15 pull-ups. Round two, it was 12 chest to bar pull-ups, which is essentially a pull-up where you hit your chest.
Okay.
So you have to go higher. And then
wait, so you do just a regular pull-up, just your neck?
Yep.
Okay, like you're in that grade school competition or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the next one, you got to go all the way up.
Yeah.
Are you doing wide grip or like narrow grip?
Whatever you want. Yeah.
Whatever you want.
Yeah.
However you can.
All you got to do is get your neck over, get your chest. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the next one was bar muscle ups.
Okay.
Which is where you do a pull up and then you come up into a dip.
Okay.
And
you go over the bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the last one was ring muscle ups.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So a couple years ago, no, more than that, because it was before the pandemic, I went to do one of these workouts with you, and it was tough. I agree, it was intense, and it's like it's super, truncated. It's like 45 minutes of like we're gonna go at it, and the instructor's like doing some combo of encouragement, but yelling at you to get you to do whatever you're gonna do. And then you're like, they're super competitive. There's a board and you mark your time and all that good stuff. One thing that I noticed that was rampant was cheating.
Yeah.
Who is counting? Who is counting these 20 double unders and these muscle ups? Who's doing that?
So on most days, like it's like self
honor kit.
Yeah. But actually today, because we're doing an in-house like competition,
okay,
somebody was actually counting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we actually had a judge. Yeah, which has been interesting because there's a little drama because there's a couple people who, in the normal flow of the workouts, they win every day.
Okay.
But the last 3 weeks when they had judges,
oh my god,
that way. So it's been kind of interesting.
That's so
and
funny.
They're blaming it
it's
on like
right.
performance anxiety. I don't know what they're. Yeah.
So funny.
But that's life. Yeah.
So you just go and you go for time. So
yeah.
you being a leaderboard meant that you like did the whole, prescribed workout within a certain period of time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 14 minutes and 4 seconds. You should try it.
You guys heard that? 14 and 4.
Yeah. This particular workout though, like I don't know what percentile I would be in, but there's very few people on planet Earth who can do this workout because they can't do the muscle ups.
The muscle ups are really hard.
Muscle ups are hard. Yeah.
But you know what the problem is? So I think it's a technique thing. And sometimes some body types are more attuned with
that's
that.
for sure.
But I mean, one thing in CrossFit workouts that you guys do that's controversial to me is you guys do what's called a kip, meaning like when you guys are pulling yourselves up, you can like do this motion with your legs to give you a little propulsion upwards. I think that's cheating. I'm more of in the strict camp of pull up where it's all like back and arms and whatnot, and like using your legs just kind of But for the muscle up, you can kip. You just need to get over. That's
exactly.
Only...
There's no
Okay.
You just have to do it.
And then do you do like wide or do you do like narrow?
It's easier to do it wide. Not super wide, but like you get a little wide.
So then we bring back the CrossFit. I think that's interesting. So you've been very consistent with that. And is that a part of your process too? Part of your creative process? I guess you kind of highlighted that it was.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of my life process. Like I started working out when I was like 20 or something like that.
Right.
And
20 years too late, but
yeah, I wish I would have worked out in younger, but whatever. And then I did like 10 years of sort of standard like Globo gym workouts.
Yep.
And then I did
LA Fitness.
Yeah, 7 or 8 years of martial arts, which was really awesome foundation. And then now I've been doing the CrossFit. Got
it. What kind of martial arts? Just quickly.
Yeah, I started off with Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu.
Got it.
So it's how I met my wife, and
that's cool. Yeah, that's right.
Now I'm coaching my kids' jiu-jitsu class, which is really fun to watch them. Yeah, those are good things. Like I feel like that's a foundation.
Yeah,
that actually everybody should learn when they're young.
Go on. Why?
Because I feel like one, it teaches you a different kind of body awareness, which is it translates into other sports.
You can see that.
Yeah. So if you learn like my kids are 7 and 5.
Yep.
And they're learning jiu-jitsu and, hopefully soon I'm trying to find a kids Muay Thai class.
Okay.
But I can see already just from the jiu-jitsu, like their spatial awareness is just way better.
Interesting.
On when they're playing like traditional sports like basketball or whatever. And you're stronger. Like
Yeah,
pound for
true.
pound, you're stronger. Like
Yeah.
it's a different kind of athleticism.
Do you worry about them getting hurt?
Not really.
Yeah.
I actually think when they're younger, it's actually safer. I didn't learn until I was 30.
Yeah.
When you're 30, you can hurt yourself and you can hurt someone else. When you're a kid, it's actually very hard.
Yeah. Got it.
Because they just like fall over and no one gets hurt. But if you're a
Right.
grown person and you fall over, you might actually like put your hand down the wrong way and break your wrist. Like there's things that could actually happen to you. Yeah.
So last month's profit was interesting because you spent a lot of time talking about financial repression. There's another interesting element to last month's issue, but we'll save that for a little bit later. But financial repression, and I think that the economy is doing some really interesting things right now. But maybe you can quickly unpack where you were going with that and kind of what's in your head around that and why you chose. This is a pretty, if we're thinking about a sentiment measurement of word, that's a pretty like grave and severe. It evokes these like interesting feelings. But financial repression is what you used. So share that. Where are we going there?
Yeah. So I was writing this article for the newsletter about just some dynamics that I'd seen in my world, my day to day, which is real estate, and the relationship between sort of interest rates and the rate of inflation.
Yep.
And financial repression is by no means my phrase. I actually don't know who the originator of it is, but it's a phrase that the meaning of it is essentially when interest rates are not allowed to reflect the actual rate of inflation in the economy.
Okay.
So essentially financial repression is another way of saying like manipulation by the central banks or the government.
Got it.
And essentially in human history, every civilization has engaged in financial repression.
Yes.
And it usually happens towards the end of their reign, which makes you a little bit worried about where we are today.
Yeah.
But the idea is like the structure of the economy gets so sideways that and the debt gets so high that the powers that be cannot allow the interest rate on the debt to be as high as it needs to be.
Yep. Got it.
And it creates for these crazy situations. Like our entire working life has been a consequence of financial repression.
Sure.
So they really started messing around with it after the tech wreck.
Yep.
In the early 2000s.
.com.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then after the great financial crisis, it was like full on. Like my whole in real estate investing career was an era of amazingly intense financial repression.
But I'll let you continue. Just want to interject this. You had like kind of a bang situation, the .com situation, and then right afterwards you had 9/11. So you had like a bang, and it's interesting because you got to the powers that be needed to do something, but there wasn't just like one thing. But go ahead.
Yeah, they needed to do something, and the question. It's too hard in this conversation to answer the question of whether what we've done in America is a good or bad thing. We'd have to bring in some experts and some other people to like actually dive into that, but it's an important question.
Right.
But I think the problem with financial repression from the perspective of sort of ordinary Americans is that there are consequences to it.
Right.
And the consequences are that we've had this sort of hollowing out of the American economy and the sort of bifurcation of it.
Yep.
And America's always been a have and have not society, but it's gotten really extreme in our lifetime.
Yeah.
And it's a consequence of financial repression. Because what happens when you have in a world where inflation is higher than interest rates are that asset prices go up.
Right, correct.
And assets tend to be owned by a select few people.
Assets,
it goes back to this Marx thing. The problem of capitalism is capital.
Yep.
If you have to own assets from the year 2000, even with the tech crash and GFC to now, like it's been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like own Amazon during that time period, right? And you do great.
Yep.
And that's a direct consequence of that of financial repression. And so I was writing about that and hypothesizing that maybe that era is over.
Okay.
I don't know yet. It's kind of to be determined. So like CPI is at 6, right?
Yep.
And the Fed funds is at 4.75.
Right.
So it's still below.
Yeah.
Fed funds is still below, and the 30-year Treasury is even way more below. 30-year Treasury is at 4, and inflation's at 6. So we're actually still in a financial repression regime.
Sure.
And there's a couple of the finance guru people that are pointing out that we've never really had a major recession unless those flip.
Correct.
And so you need the Fed would have to go. Their contention is the Fed would have to go all the way. So we're talking like 7% Fed funds or something like that.
Yeah.
If that happens, like we will get a recession and it will be nasty, and asset prices will get crushed.
Yeah. What do you think should happen? I always think that these things are interesting because there's like what's going on, and CPI is at 6, and we get such interesting and mixed feedback, right? Like I think people want the Fed to stop their program, and because whatever, we want the good times to keep rolling. But what do you think should happen?
Yeah, like if I was in charge of the Federal Reserve.
If you were king, man, if you're King Halaris, let's go, King H.
Yeah,
you talking about? What are we gonna do here?
Yeah, this is like a complicated question to answer.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you got if you're in charge of the U.S. economy, you do have to actually solve this inflation problem.
Yeah, you have to.
You have to.
Yeah.
And it's being caused by a number of structural forces that are not actually that easy to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Some of which are political.
Okay.
So I'll give you 2 examples of political ones.
Let's go.
Energy.
Okay.
The U.S. basically could cause the price of oil to crater if we wanted to. But we're making it because we have these other ambitions about the green technology, and because the energy companies are
Are you referring to like our strategic reserves?
No, just like incentivize the shale production in America, and boom, all of a sudden oil's back to 30 or something like that.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so we could literally, like, that's a huge component of CPI.
Sure.
And it's come down.
Yeah.
Like oil, I think, is down below where it was before the invasion of Ukraine.
Okay.
So it's actually headed in the right direction, but we could do more damage on that.
Right.
We could crush the Saudi Arabias of the world, the Russias of the world, if we wanted to. But there's this other agenda, which is like anti-oil. And I get that. I understand why we don't necessarily want to just go wild with it. But from a strategic geopolitical standpoint, like America is incredibly well positioned to use that to their advantage.
But you don't think that the sea change of just like kind of where we'll call technology is going and our competitive advantage there, like I think that's where that notion gets a little thorny, right?
Yeah.
Because, we are all in on and you're right, it is kind of political as well, but we're all in, right?
Yeah.
And that's where it's going.
Yep.
But you're saying, anyway, just for the sake of this, like this hypothetical King H, there's an opportunity to knock that down.
There's a play.
We have that. We have the ability to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Like right now, there's a play to use our oil capacity, incentivize these big companies. These are the best companies in the world for oil production. Yep. They're way better than the companies in other places.
Yes.
And we could incentivize them on a short-term basis to like, let's flood the market with oil and drive the price down. And that would crush that piece out of the inflation.
Interesting.
Similarly, we have this like really weird problem where our labor market is tight.
Yep.
And America has a strategic advantage once again. We have this like historical,
I got you. Yep.
This historical history of being pro-immigrant.
Yep.
Even though in the modern era we're like kind of negative about immigrants.
Yes.
And we have been through history. We haven't always been pro-immigrant.
Right.
But like, there's your answer. You want to solve your employment issue in America, or the fact that people can't hire people?
Right.
There was like, I think a month ago, there's this like survey that they do of small businesses, and 90-something% of them said they were struggling to hire people.
Of course.
And it's like, okay, well, I know how to solve that one. There's a lot of people who would like to come here.
I mean, look, I was just at a very nice establishment right down the street where I got this cup of coffee, and there are 2 people working. And granted, this was a $5 cup of coffee. Like, there's money to be made, but I think that whole labor shortage thing, I mean, anecdotally, I see it. We see it out there.
Yep.
It's fascinating. And then, but then we're seeing like the Biden administration, I think that what are they doing on the immigration front? They're doing something whereby they're making it difficult to, I guess that's a different question altogether. I'm catching myself as I'm unpacking this, but people are coming for asylum and they're making that whole process a little bit more, we'll call it structured in the most friendly way, right?
Yep.
But it could also be argued that it's more difficult because there is a problem at the borders and stuff like that. So I think, how about this? I think that at the highest level, I love that. I think you're right. And then I think practically it gets a little tricky, but
Yeah, it would be,
anyway.
you would basically, to do it, you would have to be dictator.
You'd have to be
because the political landscape
That's
around
right.
immigration is absurd.
Correct.
Like
Correct.
I wrote
That's
an
right.
article actually for my newsletter a couple years ago where I was looking at the immigration policy around like a certain, they're called H-1B visas.
Yep.
And it's basically for like really smart
Yes.
tech people
The
and stuff.
genius research, right.
Yeah. And what I found in doing the research for that article was that like a humongous percentage of the people that are going to our best schools are not getting these visas.
Yeah.
And they're going home.
They're going back home.
And to me, that is just absolutely dumb.
Yes.
It's like, okay, you're going to take a spot. You're going to take a spot at Harvard
Right.
from a kid, an
Right.
American kid.
Yeah.
And then you're going to send them back to China
Get
or
outta
India
here.
to go start a company. Like that's
Right.
really, really dumb.
Right.
And the tech companies have actually testified before Congress on like a bunch of occasions. And they're like, we will hire them.
Yeah.
We will pay them $200,000 a year.
Yeah.
Like the idea that these people are going to be like a drain on our society is asinine.
Sure.
It's like,
Exactly.
it's like, okay.
Exactly.
So I feel like the thrust of that article back a couple years ago was that America could like weaponize immigration.
That's right. Absolutely.
We could brain drain the whole world.
That's right.
Easily.
Yeah.
Because even though with all our problems, people do still want to come here.
100% all
Yeah.
around the globe. I mean, that's it. And it's every time, people sit back and they're like, oh man, US this and US that. Incredibly valid points. But then you go overseas, you go on some travels and you talk to people and they're trying to get to, and these are places where otherwise, and maybe our US privilege gives us quite an experience over in these other spots around the world, but they're all clamoring to come to the US.
Yep.
And it is what it is. And it's just, it's a dynamic that there's a substantial competitive advantage
Yeah.
that
And-
the
and
US had.
We're so short-sighted about it. It's like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like those are two prongs of like how you would deal with the structural inflation. So
Okay.
that's
All
how
right.
we
Yep.
started this.
Exactly.
And then
King H. Let's go.
Yeah, and
Keep
then-
it going.
the other thing, this is a retrospective because it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
But what the Federal Reserve and the Treasury should have done during COVID.
Okay.
So during COVID, they slammed rates to the floor.
Right.
Rates were zero. And they engaged in a massive quantitative easing program,
Yep.
which is essentially where the Federal Reserve buys U.S. Treasuries
Yep.
on the open market and puts them on their balance sheet.
Correct.
They should have been a little more smart about it, and they should have done like super long dated. The Treasury should have issued super long dated Treasuries,
Okay.
like 100-year bonds,
Right.
and the
right.
Fed should have bought those.
Yep.
So now we're in this dumb position where I
Mhm.
think that the last number I saw is like a third of the U.S. debt has to be refinanced
Coming
in the
up.
next
Yep.
2 years.
That's right.
Well, that sucks because
They made
interest
their
rates
own.
are way higher now. They
Yeah.
literally could have got like,
Create their own
I
problem.
forget how low the 30-year got,
Sure.
but like it's like double what it was.
Yep.
Yeah. So we could have saved a lot of money.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
So that's one thing I wish that we would have done. And let me try to think if there's anything else we could do like right now to.
Yeah. I mean, does
Yeah.
it? And this maybe I'll direct you to your space, our space, to real estate. Is there anything there? And maybe there's nothing short term that can be done there, but it's a big component of the CPI is shelter,
Yeah.
right? Any ideas? What do you got there, King H?
Yes. So that's a good sector to focus on because it's been a real problem, and it's actually
Yeah.
been an area of the economy where inflation has been significantly underreported,
Yes, exactly.
like almost like a joke.
It's a joke.
Yeah, like the headline numbers for rental inflation
Yep.
are 10% of what they actually were or something.
Well, then
yeah,
educate us. How do they report
yeah. So
that component of CPI?
the CPI is based on a survey actually
Exactly.
called the owner's equivalent rent.
Yep.
And what the question is, it's really a dumb question.
Mhm.
They ask a homeowner, they say, if you weren't living in your home
Mhm.
and you were going to rent it out to someone, what would they pay?
Yeah.
And the average homeowner is not equipped to answer that question.
Right.
Some people might have
Right.
an idea. Like
Right.
some people are smart about that kind of stuff, but it's been significantly underreporting inflation.
Yep.
And this was true even during the era when we supposedly had no inflation,
Yes.
like 2010 until COVID.
Right.
They, CPI for shelter was producing numbers that looked benign. But if you lived in Los Angeles or San Francisco or New York or Atlanta or anywhere else, your rent doubled.
It's fascinating because, I mean, on that exact note, I mean, one, if you're doing a survey like that, it's going to inherently lag, right? There's no way you can kind of keep, so there's going to be some lag, and that's already kind of baked into how people think about that metric. The other thing is that until recently, you couldn't really get like actual snapshots, like things weren't publicly out there like on the internet or anything like that. So, I mean, I think I've seen some proposals and some white papers and some academic papers about improvements to the way some of that stuff is measured and collected, but 100% joke is the right word. And I think that things get underreported as an outcome of it.
Yep.
But okay, so King H, real estate, shelter, CPI, what are we doing?
Yeah, like it's somewhat related actually to the immigration thing. Like,
Okay.
to fix the housing problem in America, like you'd essentially have to assert a significant amount of outside control on local processes.
Yep.
So essentially, like local governments have control over the zoning decisions and
Right.
the building process for all this housing in America, and the local political world is like way worse than what you see in Congress. You think Congress is crazy? Like you should like go to a city council meeting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like all the things that you see in the national level, like
Yeah.
the energy's dialed up a lot.
Right.
Where like
Right.
here in this town, like we had multiple people going to jail for corruption.
Sure.
We had like high profile people like talking crazy racist talk
Oh, yeah.
in a recording.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah,
That
just
one-
recently.
It was national news.
Yeah. So
And that happens everywhere, by the way. I mean, come from Chicago, that's happening there, right? Like people going to jail, getting indicted for corruption on that level.
Yeah.
And clearly the recent scandal here in LA was really, it was quite something.
Yeah.
But yes, okay, so local, outside forces into local, some of the local powers that be that have, impact on zoning and things like that. So,
yeah, you'd have to basically like make everything by right.
yeah.
And then bring
Yeah,
the labor
yeah.
force in. We need the labor force to make these
Yes.
these things pencil. And
You think everything by right, huh?
I mean, not everything.
Yeah.
You can be smart about your zoning,
Right.
But like, you shouldn't have what's happening in the city of Los Angeles. It's insane.
And by right, you simply mean, just to explain to the people that aren't real estate nerds and real estate insiders, literally like it just opens the floodgates as to what you can build on a specific lot.
Yeah.
As opposed to it being super strict or you needing to go ask permission to adjust something to another type of use case. By right, simply you're saying, hey, you can have at it.
You build what you want. You have to, you're within the zoning. Within reason.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the way LA is like an extreme version of what's happening. This is not true
Sure.
everywhere. Like there are
Correct.
places that are actually doing a good job with housing production, but
Yep.
LA is different. And what LA evolved into, because there's so much money here,
Yeah.
is that the city council members have sort of like dictatorial control over what happens. Like if you need to have a parcel that needs a zoning change,
Mm-hmm.
you have to get your particular city council member to approve you.
Yeah.
Because there's this weird thing where like, even if the 14 other people agreed with the development you want to do,
Okay.
they don't mess with each other's jurisdictions.
That's right.
Because they don't
It's like
want
a
someone else to do that to them.
Tacit, like.
Yeah, it's really messed up, and it's been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, to get things done, they were like handing each other millions of dollars
That's
under
right.
the table. Like that's how they
That's right.
Yeah.
Interesting, man. I think those are some interesting and not crazy proposals. One thing I said earlier that there are two things that were fascinating about this recent issue of Profit. One was just the financial repression, and on the sentiment meter, I think it goes in an interesting direction. The other thing was that I don't believe you normally have positions you like or investment kind of recommendations that you're interested. I don't know that there was any in there.
Yeah.
And I want to know why and what you're seeing.
Yeah. So there was a period of time when I was like trying to figure out what exactly this newsletter was going to be.
Okay.
And when I first started writing it, part of me thought it was going to be like an investment product.
Finance. Yes.
Meaning
an
like,
investment product. Okay.
meaning
I got
like
you.
I would like write articles to give people insights and ideas on how to make money in investing.
For sure.
And it morphed into something beyond that. So I stopped doing that.
You stopped doing it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
But I still have my opinions. I'm just not like making this newsletter about that.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, so what do we got? Let's talk about some opinions here. So in real estate, we just kind of talked about, some of what, I guess these are more like policies types of recommendations that you have. But what opportunities are you seeing out there? What are you guys doing? What are you seeing? What do you think someone could do or run with in this new environment?
Yeah. This is a really interesting time to think about allocating money.
Yeah.
Like if you had the question of like, I ask myself this all the time, like if I had $100 million in the bank and I had to allocate it today to something new, what would I do?
Right.
And the answer to that question right now is like, I think that even though I'm concerned that inflation may continue to go higher and higher and interest rates might end up going higher, that's not actually my base case. My base case is that we're going to be in a recession before too long and they'll be cutting rates.
Yep.
And if I'm right about that, the best trade in the world right now is to be long U.S. Treasuries.
Okay.
Yeah, you can buy U.S. Treasuries, earn 4%, and make like a 20% bump on the appreciation of the bonds when they cut rates.
Got it. You said that you predicted at some point that they were going to start slashing before the end of 2023.
Yeah, I think it's very possible.
Still very possible.
See what happens with the labor market.
Sure.
The leading edge of the economy, right, was crypto and tech. Crypto and tech is wiped out.
I have some thoughts. I want to, but go ahead. This is interesting. We need to talk about that in a second.
Yeah, we should talk about that. I feel like long U.S. Treasuries is a great trade right now. Another good trade, actually, one that we're not really executing at Metros Capital, but I'd love to find a way, is essentially to be a lender in real estate right now.
Yeah.
Is great.
Super competitive right now, but go ahead.
Because you can earn like, as a private lender, you could probably earn like 10 to 15% and be in senior position. That's a good risk adjusted return for real estate.
Correct.
Right now. So I like that. And then I also think like an outlier or maybe like a hedge trade. Like let's say you went super long treasuries.
Yep.
And maybe you bought some equities because you thought, okay, equities are kind of beaten up. That's my core position.
Right.
If you wanted to hedge it, owning some commodities or commodity producers is a good idea because in the event that we have a runaway inflation, those will probably do okay. Meaning the commodity like ExxonMobil, copper companies, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay, and got it. And you'd execute on that by taking positions in publicly traded. Got it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go like invest in a lithium mine.
I don't think. No, you'd have to be an expert to do that.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
And honestly, like most of the sort of venture style investments in mining, that's like you got to stay away from that because it's like crypto. They've been doing this for like 300 years though. It's like whatever's going on in crypto, they've been doing that in mining for a very long time.
I'll tell you though, I think that the mining piece of it, absolutely, that's a different level of expertise. Get your PhDs in there, whatever. But I think that there's also the element if you're going to another market overseas or something like that.
Yeah.
If you have either the will or the connections to get yourself in the right game there, I don't know. I mean, it's incredibly risky, super rewarding potentially, but I think that that's an interesting game, like with cobalt, with lithium. If you're able to navigate certain markets, I'm thinking about Congo. I'm thinking about markets like that.
And like that stuff, I've looked. It's intellectually interesting because you think like if you just forecast out the focus on the green just in Europe and in America, like they're gonna need all that stuff.
Correct.
But those investments are basically like political investments, and you're going to be competing against like the Chinese Communist Party.
Correct.
Like it's crazy. Yeah.
Well, I mean that race is on, right? I mean China's all over parts of South America, all over Africa, for those types of raw materials. It's really, I mean they're there Like it's not even like, oh, no, like my dad will send a WhatsApp. He lives in Nigeria. He'll send WhatsApp. So many different ethnicities in Nigeria, but he is Igbo, which is one of the larger of the three ethnicities, and it's like in the east, kind of the oil-rich area of Nigeria, and it's not like in Lagos, which is like the capital, former capital, but like the big commercial New York of Nigeria. Anyway, there's like WhatsApp videos just showing, Chinese guys speaking Igbo and speaking like local variants of Igbo.
Interesting.
And they're there. Like, and that's just Nigeria. I mean, we're not talking about like other parts of like sub-Saharan Africa where, the super, super natural resource heavy like areas. So it's really interesting to see that. Again, all anecdotes, but fascinating.
But definitely interesting. Yeah.
Real estate. So first position, kind of getting on the debt side, and maybe mezz positions. People are, I just see people talking about, hey, I want to, maybe mezz is the place to play because the first position play is very saturated. So I think that speaks to what I'm hearing. Anything else you're seeing in real estate at the moment?
Yeah, like we still believe in this stuff we're doing. Like
Yes.
We're doing urban infill development
Yep.
here in Los Angeles. And if you're smart about the location and stuff, you can still produce like deals that have underwriting at 15% returns or something.
Yeah.
Which for real estate is great.
It's great.
Yeah. Another segment of the market that I'm ultimately a super bull on is housing. And there's a world where housing gets ugly for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But when we come out of this inflation scare, housing is going to be like it was in 2020 and 2021.
What do you mean brutal and scary? Like, and just unpack a little bit about that. Like, what's interesting about housing to you? I mean, it's like it's like the, bedrock of our society, kind of. But people don't think about it as an investment or an asset class like that. So, what do you mean?
Yeah, like it's a long story, but essentially the crash. The housing bubble in the early 2000s broke the housing production system.
Yep.
And so in the last decade, like we never really made it back even close to the...
Not close.
Yeah, I forget the numbers. It was like maybe we were producing like 1.5 million houses a year and it got up to like 700.
Yep.
So like the chart looks like this fall and then like a slow climb up. And now the home builders are all pausing. They're backing away because with mortgage rates is 6.5 or 7, they're not selling enough new houses. And so an already challenging supply market, which produced the crazy COVID thing where prices in America went like up 50% or something.
Right.
That's going to happen again because there's no supply.
There's no supply
being built. Yeah.
Inventory is crazy low. Yeah.
Now you have to pick your spots. And that's not a trade that's that easy to execute. Like in the public markets, what's interesting is the public markets actually seem to be seeing through that. So if you look at some of the stocks, it's been a while since I looked at them, but
home builder stocks,
they're doing okay.
They're at record highs.
Yeah, because everyone knows what I just said. Like all the smart money knows.
I think I asked you that a while ago, and you were like, "Yeah," because everyone knows that's like. But then it's funny because you see that, and then you'll turn on CNBC, and they're gonna be like, "Oh man, builder cancellations," and so on. And so you're seeing two sides of it, but yet the stock prices, things are priced in.
Yeah, the headlines are all like gloom and doom.
They are, financial repression.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right, let's talk about tech and maybe crypto as well. So I was at ETH Denver. Okay, I was there for like a day. And I was really just honestly going to hang out with a friend that's like full in the cult of crypto.
Yeah.
And I ended up crashing this one event. It's this Sui Builder House event. Sui is a new blockchain. There's this flagship company called Sui's a foundation, but there's this company called Mistin Labs. Ex-Meta folks raised a lot of capital. And I guess Mistin Labs is like kind of the business entity, and then Sui is like the foundation. And I think Sui lends well to a lot of gaming applications. But anyway, I was at this builder house and top secret, you can't come in without a this or that. and my buddy got me in there, and man, there was crazy energy at that house. And I then went to I caught the train to the airport, and there were just people milling around with their conference lanyards. The airport has, on the way in, there's like a giant sign. So there's still a lot of energy, and there's still a lot of money sloshing around in crypto. Again, anecdotally, this is what I saw for a couple hours. But where are we now with that, right?
Yeah.
Like zero interest rates gone. But where are we? What are you seeing with like Web3 and crypto, and where do we go?
It's fascinating space because
Yeah.
I think looking back on 2021,
Okay.
I think what we witnessed is probably going to be looked at as like the greatest speculative bubble of all time.
Of all time.
Because it moved around a little bit. So it's not like the tulips where it was like isolated to like one asset.
Yep.
But it went from like SPACs
Yeah.
to the FANG stocks.
Who?
Yeah.
Who is she?
Most of the SPACs are literally gone bankrupt, or
Most
they're
of
like
them,
down
a lot of them.
95%. Like it's like
Yeah.
and then it went to meme stocks, and then it went to crypto,
Yeah.
and now it's all just blown up.
Yep.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
And so the question about the future is like, okay, well, let's assume that I'm right about that. Let's assume that it was absolute bubble. It was all that price appreciation was based on nothing but speculation.
Yeah.
It's probably true.
Yeah.
What does the future hold for crypto? And it's hard to say, because I think what crypto has done that's probably positive for the world is it has woke everybody up about the extent to which the financial institutions that we have are kind of antiquated.
That's right.
And controlled by these money center banks like JP Morgan. And
Sure.
the fact that you can't like instantaneously send money to someone is really dumb.
Yeah.
It's like,
you can Zelle it.
Yeah. Zelle is like so slow.
Then the banks are all a part of it as well. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think my long-term view on crypto is that crypto is worth zero.
When you say crypto, you mean like the actual off product, the coins, the tokens, all that good stuff. Okay?
And the reason I say that is like the fundamental premise of like Bitcoin is based upon this cryptography that's actually difficult to solve.
Sure.
So like theoretically, Bitcoin has a value because it's not easy to solve these math equations.
Correct. Yep.
But like quantum computing is going to just like that type of cryptographic protection is going to be useless if you have quantum computing.
Okay. Interesting.
So like crypto is worth nothing.
Okay.
In that use case.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean there might be an intermediate time period. Like who knows how long it takes to get quantum.
Yep.
There are use cases. There's use cases for things like Bitcoin and Ethereum that are interesting. Like
lots.
Lots of, and they might have a good period of time.
Yeah.
But that one day a Bitcoin you won't be able to really do anything with it because of the fact that you can't protect the chain.
I think there's and there's two sides to it. There's kind of like, again, the Bitcoin itself, like, hey, I got a Bitcoin, I'm gonna buy a sandwich. And then there's like the blockchain and all of the tech that can come from having that, distributed ledger attached to it. I think that's like the real value. I try not to get caught up in the, oh my God, Bitcoin's at $60,000. And, I try not to get too caught up in that. And I think that these different blockchains, and we'll see which one becomes like the most preeminent one, but over time, that's where it's at. Yeah. It is sad though. So, all right. So ChatGPT comes out. It's been out, right? And it takes the world by storm. And from a tech standpoint, the tech world will say. And people were saying like, well, that's what we wanted crypto to be. Like you can log on, you can talk to this ChatGPT thing, and it's telling you stuff like, and you're like blown away.
Yeah.
And it's getting implemented into apps. The API came out the other day, and people are connecting it to all sorts of things, and it's just going rapid fire. It's in Bing, and like we can see it now. What are your thoughts like about AI in general? Is it hype? Is it real? What are you seeing? And then now it seems like every VC in a Patagonia vest is chasing after every startup that's talking about AI.
AI is maybe the next wave of this bubble, right?
You think so,
this
huh?
everything bubble. Yeah. I don't know that for sure. I haven't really looked at the valuations of those companies.
Sure.
But I do think that just to finish up with crypto.
Sure.
Crypto does have a user problem.
Okay.
Like if you look at the numbers, like not that many people are using any of these chains.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's partially a function of the fact that they're messing around with regulators.
Mm-hmm.
And so and now there's these bankruptcies and these like people losing money, like real money.
Yeah.
Customers losing money.
Absolutely.
And so people aren't going to accept these shady onboarding experiences anymore.
Yeah.
Because they felt too much pain.
Yeah.
And so crypto does have to figure out like Coinbase is trying to be the leader in this, which is like, I'm going to present like JP Morgan.
They just bought something today that's like registered, maybe brokered. I don't know. I was just reading that when I was having this $5 coffee. And,
No, I didn't see the news.
Yeah. Well, maybe future episode we'll talk about it. But yes, to your point, like they are presenting like a venerated financial services company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they need to. Because they need to have it. Like the Chat GPT was relatively easy for a consumer to download.
Correct.
Or sign up for and start
That's right.
using. But yeah, AI is actually exciting and scary at the same time, I think, is my view on it. I feel like it is potentially devastating for the economy.
Go on.
Because I don't know how good ChatGPT is. I haven't really messed around.
You haven't played with it, okay.
Yeah. But my understanding of it is that it's like good enough to like pass these exams.
Yeah.
Like the bar exam and like the Wharton exam.
Right.
And to me, like there's a bunch of jobs in the economy that are actually relatively high paying, like lawyers, like all of our friends, for example.
Right.
Especially transactional lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
These AI things, they appear to be able to be trained to do that. So like, let's say you wanted to do a real estate construction loan in California.
Right.
That seems to me like you could just type it in, just, hey, drop the loan documents for this. And they could access a database with all the loan documents that have been done before. And like, you could have it. And like, these are people who are making like $1,000 an hour who are doing that now. And like, that's gone.
Right.
And if you're me or you and you're doing real estate deals, like you'd much rather have ChatGPT do it. So I'm a little worried for some of the transactional lawyers.
Sure.
But it might be true for all lawyers though, too, because you could say like a big part of the work that you do as a litigator is you do this research.
A lot of research.
And
research on research.
The AIs could probably do that better.
More efficiently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly faster and cheaper than hiring a bunch of associates to read cases.
Yeah. To go rip down Westlaw and Lexus for thousands of bucks an hour as well.
Yeah.
You know, I've played with it a lot. Okay. And it's imperfect. I hear what you're saying. And I think that hopefully my bull case is that it just makes a lot of industries better, because it really is like you need a human to like round out what it's doing. You need a human to tell it what to do, and then you need a human to take out what it gives you. Now look, like I think there could be a world and where there's just very commoditized types of things where you don't need that and they can just spit out. But part of being a lawyer is like taking like this unique scenario and attaching it to kind of a very standardized thing, and then, you know, molding that you know, the document to your little unique thing. And that's where, like, again, ChatGPT, it's like, you know, it's a language. It's like language technology. It's not like a brain, right? It's like reading words and spitting out like new words from that. So that's where the essence of its machine learning is coming from. It's just language, right? There's no kind of grave like, you know, brain there. But I think it can get to a pretty powerful place at some point.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty, that gets along the lines of freaky. But I think a lot of people, oh my God, tomorrow my lawyer's going to be, not tomorrow as I see it. But can your lawyer be tons better and way more efficient, and maybe cheaper for you?
Yeah.
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 Oh yeah.
It's like super deflationary technology.
There you go. That's right.
Which is good, actually.
I think it's
Which
great.
is what you want, but you'd have to figure out how you manage the transition
Yeah.
between all these
Correct.
people whose jobs are now less valuable.
I just think it'll be interesting to see what I think it was super wise of Bing, Microsoft, rather to throw it and connect it with Bing, because it makes you realize how bad search is.
Yeah.
Google search is.
Yeah.
And their business model with serving ads can just muddy search. Like it, and so it's funny now, like for an instant current event, if I want to know something about it, I'm not going to Google anymore. I'm actually going to go on Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and stitch it together. And if you can have something that actually is going to think a little bit or try and put something in, like, so okay, you want to search something in Google, Google's just going to serve you up some websites.
Yeah.
But ChatGPT and Bing, I've never played with the inside of Bing, but ChatGPT is going to actually like tell you and give you an answer to your question.
Yep.
And not just tell you to go read some article that someone made just so that they can be on the top results of Google. So I think that the search words are going to be really fascinating.
There's some businesses that were like literally some of the best businesses ever made.
Exactly.
That are in trouble now.
They're in trouble.
Like
they're in trouble.
Google and Facebook.
That's right.
Like if you look at
They're
the
in trouble.
operating margins for those businesses, like those were incredible businesses.
That's right.
They produced billions of dollars of profit.
Mm-hmm.
And with margins that were
they
like
minted.
Yeah, they were, and now they're it's unclear.
It's unclear.
Yeah.
It's hurt.
Yeah, their moat is like not that secure.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Which is kind of
quickly to me. I mean, who knows? This stuff's been around for a while, but
yeah,
quickly.
Easy come, easy go.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
We'll have to see.
Do you, so one more tech question, financial repression, zero interest rate environment gave way to Uber, Lyft, Instacart. You know, they're able, basically like VC money was sloshing around and making these unicorns and so on and so forth. But that's kind of gone, right? Like, what do you see as the next wave of, like, you know, are you going to still have 100x revenue valuations for tech? Like, what do you think that does to that model of innovation?
Yeah, that's a good question, because the American venture style of investing, I actually think is one of the greatest innovations in financial history.
Awesome. Yeah.
And the reason it is because it allowed for intelligent people to take risks that seem like absolutely crazy.
Right. Right.
But to do it in a somewhat rational way. Now, it's not perfectly rational, because you do have to kind of just like invest in 100 companies and hopefully one of them makes it.
Right.
But it's like taking a leap of faith.
Yeah.
Whereas in real estate, for example, like every single deal that you do has to pencil on its face.
Has to. Yeah,
Otherwise,
correct.
you won't raise the capital.
Yeah.
Where a venture startup, you could just have a crazy idea and you might get funded.
Right.
And that's something new. And that's why I actually think we've seen so much innovation in our lifetime, because
that's right.
The people with capital, the capitalists again,
that's right.
They had a way to like take these flyer bets that wasn't completely crazy.
Yep.
Where in the old days, you know, someone would have to be kind of a maverick to say, yeah, I'm just going to, I'll fund that startup.
Right.
Yeah. And so it's an amazing innovation. And now if financial repression is over, that means that we're going to have real interest rates again.
Right.
And what that means is that investors with people with money are going to have choices.
Right.
And what happened in the era of financial repression is like there was nowhere to earn any money anywhere else. Real estate was priced out. Bonds were not yielding anything.
Bingo.
So they were like, okay, let's throw it into the VC fund, and the VC people were producing returns on paper. That were way better than earning 0% on your treasury.
Right.
So yeah, it is changing, and it's creating this landscape where there's actual like opportunity cost. So if you're a pension fund and you're like, okay, should we allocate another couple billion to venture, or what about we earn 15% doing mezz deals in real estate?
Right.
It starts to get more interesting. 15 starts to be interesting.
Yeah,
so
man.
We'll have to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, listen, John, thank you for, first of all, get off your phone. Okay? you got somewhere to go?
Super, super busy guy, man. I should be lucky I made some. No, just kidding.
No, but I appreciate you coming on and doing this sort of experimental show with us. And
this is awesome.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun, and I have a feeling we're going to make this kind of a regular thing.
Good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, the premise, I don't actually know what the Nick Halaris Show is going to be.
Right.
And I have some ideas about what I want to talk about, and we actually covered many of the topics. So good work on coming up with the questions.
Yes, sir.
But I do want to kind of experiment, and I think this is a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
And maybe what we could do is kind of see what my guests are talking about.
Right.
And we could talk about that as well. But appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
Dude, a lot of fun, man. I am super bullish on the project itself and looking forward to seeing where this all goes. But you have a lot of dope ideas that I think need to get out there. And I appreciate being part of the process.
All right, man. Thank you.
Let's do it.
Thank you for listening to the Nick Halaris Show. We hope you enjoyed the episode and would appreciate your help with spreading the word by sharing with your network on social. And until next time, remember, it's not about pursuing success to unlock fulfillment. It's about learning how to find fulfillment in the midst of success.